Hello guys, my name is Nightwolf, and welcome to the Stanley Parable. So, don't know about anything about this game. I probably do, I just can't remember. But anyway. So, yes, I know, first thing. I know that this video is going up late. Like, right now it's 2, well, almost 3. So yeah, it's way late than I wanted to do it.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
That's good.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, that's good that he was happy. What does that say? Mondays? Paybook. Jump. Can't sprint. Okay. What's the time? That is not accurate. But it's only 11:25 or 23:25, one of those two. 23:25 is 11:25 p.m. .428, 429, 450. Oh, I clicked. Can I click it back on? No. Aisle. I like look. I just hate my boss. Okay. Turn all the computers off. Oh, apparently there's also different endings too. So I will be going over this multiple times. 417. Construction going on. Oh wait, no, other way. Okay. Is it really 430 employees here? Hello? Is the game supposed to tell me something? No? Oh. I can close doors. Oh.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
You said walk out of my house. I did. I don't know where to go. Okay. Let's retry that. There's nowhere to go. Right, no, quit to main menu. Begin the game.
This is the story of all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay. Turn off computers.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Okay, let's see.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. Grip fronds. Meeting room, floor XX. Meeting schedule. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 9 to 4. Office party. Friday. Groups. IT department. Not cost efficient. Push for funding for R&D of new coffee machine. Hire someone to synergize papers. Papers are to synergize. 5 paper guy. Hire somebody to 5 paper synergizing guy. Who moved my desk? Please keep the targets on the topic of something. Complete today's unfinished agenda items right next to the agenda. Reflect. Employee 417, 405, 491, 416, 431, and Jim. Okay. Let it ball up inside you. Take it out. Passive aggressive for not other coworkers. Reason coworkers will not support you anymore. Make sure your file has a slick blue graphic in the header and some bevel on all the text. This will ensure a calm and productive work environment. Everyone is unique. You most of all. That makes me feel nice. Number of slides on the slide. Charts on the slides. Slides. Rate average charts on the same slide. Pick the same information. Charts, numerics, ratios. Okay. Okay. Monetize, free to play. Room closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. I walk upstairs. Not that one. This is a big place. I can't close the door. Executive bathroom.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
I can't play the piano. Okay, let's see.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
That's cool. Wait, it's a like column. That's cool. Darkness. It's my own friend. I've come to talk with you. That's a great song. Down. Oh, right. Hello, light. Oh. Am I still staring into the light? Please tell me I am. Oh God, my leg is sore. Oh.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Down, that's good. Okay.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. No, I will do that later. I can't close the door. Oh.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I need this in my room. Can you imagine playing like Dark Souls on this? Cameras.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Yeah, okay. Can I jump off? No? Okay.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Fired.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
System power.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible...
It's dark now.
and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, achievement unlocked. Beat the game. Okay. Here we go. Okay, now...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. Okay. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
No.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever.
Begin the game again. Let's look at the other option.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first,
Yeah.
Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
No.
Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well,
Yes.
I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game.
Begin the game again. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Awaiting input. Input received. Okay. Now,
When Stanley
Go
came
to
to a
this
set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
yes.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room.
Yep.
A room so
It is.
utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Oh, I didn't even know there's the painting. We have a reef, an ocean.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that
A
this is why
mountain?
everyone left.
That one?
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and
Yes, I
took
did.
the first open door on his left to get back to business.
No.
Stanley was so bad at following directions,
Yep.
it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
What's
I'm not
wrong?
your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that
That's all.
investing your trust in someone else, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Yep.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
Okay.
he had simply missed a memo.
Unachievable. Input. Received again. Okay. Yeah, we are going to not follow any of his directions.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
Nope.
left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room,
Okay.
and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop. I'm not lying. I don't lie. Well, yeah, I want to go over there.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really?
There you go.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why?
Yep.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Okay. Let's go. Danger. Danger everywhere. Maybe. Okay. Let me see. Hey, this was in what do you call it? The trial.
Now listen carefully, this is important.
Okay.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Nope.
Aha! Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see?
Oh.
There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
What leaderboard? I didn't see the leaderboard. I didn't see the leaderboard. Okay.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Okay. Mr.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the artwork...
The fire is really loud.
But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
I'm already bored.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Well,
Really?
Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here. No, here. And then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off... Yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy.
That's what comes to mountain.
But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable. Isn't it grand?
Nope.
Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining. Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light? Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
What are we playing now?
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
It's Portal. I know that much.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity. I don't need your advice. I don't need your ratings. And I certainly don't need the validation of a man whose job is to push buttons. I think I'll just go about my business, making meaningful cultural contributions to the world. And perhaps every now and then, I'll think back to a...
What? Okay, so that way is not the way to go. So I fell, and then I fell again. 423, 424, 425. Is this a horror game now? 426, 427.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Oh, wait. Oh, stuff is happening. Are we back? Hey! Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So, where is... It must be back here then.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Confused by. Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Let's
he entered the
go
door on
this
his
way.
left. Yet there was not a single person
So we
here
are going to be
either.
moving back.
Feeling a
now.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Room closet.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Let's walk upstairs. Let's go this way. Then this way.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
2.
What could it mean? Stanley
4,
wondered
8,
aloud
7.
to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried
2,
below his
4,
feet.
8,
And so
5.
the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin
What is it?
number.
2?
2845.
No.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known
8,
this.
4, 5.
Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination. If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be
2845.
another story entirely. But no, no. This is what he was going to do. Yet incredibly,
There
by
we
simply
go.
pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
So we are going down, and once we get to the line control facility, we're going to turn the power on and see what happens.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
No, I wanted to go back and go to escape.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Okay.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He
Let's go.
refused to believe it. He couldn't
then
accept
we are
it.
going
His
to
own
go
life in someone
to the
else's
power
control? Never.
Wait.
It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it
Okay.
monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Yep. I
After
did.
they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all
is
this
the passcode?
means. I barely know where to start.
1.
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A
Where
moment
is
of
one?
solace before you're obliterated.
Where's 1?
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're going
One.
to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock. That's 30 seconds you have left to strike. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. Okay. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Okay. That was interesting. I don't know how to do that.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Okay, I'm going to end this video here, and I will see you guys next time. I will see you guys on Monday. Okay.